Hi, I'm Brad Herring with Raxis, and I'm excited to have with me today Bonnie Smyer, our Chief Operating Officer. And many of you don't know, but Bonnie is an excellent pen tester by her own right. She do a lot of penetration testing for us, and as we've gotten bigger, she's moved more into administration roles, but still super capable. And today we're going to be talking about the difference between external and web app test. And so I'm really grateful to have her on to have the technical expertise to kind of dive in this.
Glad to be here.
Great. So Bonnie, we have customers, we perform all kinds of penetration tests, and the external and web application test are two that I think probably bring up the most confusion because there's some overlap there, right? And
There
so I thought this would be
absolutely is.
useful for our users just to kind of go through what the different tests entailed and what the difference is and where the overlap is, so they can get a better idea of if they ought to do one or the other or both of them. So with that in mind, I think let's start with the external because it's kind of more clear cut, right?
Yeah, exactly. The external test is a fairly broad test. The customer will give us a range of IP addresses, and we're looking for anything we can find there. Often it will include web pages, maybe vendor web pages like a VPN login or an email login that employees use. It might even be an internally developed application. All of that's in scope, but we're not going to be asking for details like credentials or anything specific. We're looking at all of the pieces and trying to see, is there a way to get in externally as if we don't know anything? What are we looking at here?
Okay, so you're looking at a lot of server configurations and actually things with the devices, with the hosts themselves, correct?
Absolutely. Anything we can find. We might find unencrypted telnet. We're going to be looking through doing a lot of discovery, just saying what's open, what can we do with it?
Okay, right. And so you'll stumble upon a web app, but you're not gonna attack that web app. You're gonna hit it from the outside and make sure you can't get in, correct?
Absolutely. We're not going to focus on it any more than anything else. Now, if we do look at it and we know that it's maybe a vendor product that has known vulnerabilities, or we look at it and we say, hey, what's happening here? This is something we should look at. We'll give it a priority like we would anything else we find. But often that's not where we focus our time.
Okay. And then if you did find some sort of glaring thing with the web app on the external test, how far do you go before you stop?
So if we found something where we could actually get into the internal network, or we got into the web app and maybe we were seeing personal data, we would stop and talk to the customer immediately, because that's a critical issue, first of all. And second of all, that other area is only in scope because we got to it from the external test. So we always like to reach out to the customer and say, do you want us to see how far we can go? Or is this enough of a proof of concept? And now you know to get to work on these issues.
Right. So, it's one of the great things about Raxis, and our customers love it, is, we're flexible in the engagement, right? I mean, at that point, if they said go deeper, we would, right?
Absolutely. We want to do what works best for our customers. Some customers say, oh my goodness, we haven't prepared those people. We want to go start fixing that. And some people say, show us what could really happen. We want to take this to management and show them we need the budget for this. We're happy to
Right.
do
Okay.
any of that.
So that makes sense. So externals, we're looking at the overall environment. We're looking at
Mhm.
all the ways to get in. I often joke and say I'm the guy in my basement, right? That stereotypical
Yep.
drinking Mountain Dew, eating Doritos. Can I get in?
Exactly.
Right. So that's the external. Okay. So when
Mhm.
we transition and talk about the web application test, how does that differ?
The web app test is much more focused. We'll usually chat with the customer about the application itself. We'll often ask for a few sets of credentials, maybe an administrator credential and just a regular user credential. We're going to map out the whole site and really try to understand what each role is doing. Then we're also going to look at it as someone who doesn't have credentials at all. And we're going to focus on, can any of those roles get to something they're not supposed to get to? Can they get to something an administrator can only get to, and this person is only a regular user? That type of thing. We're also going to look at a lot of other types of things that you could find in web applications, such as maybe injection testing, like SQL injection and cross-site scripting. Oftentimes, not always, but oftentimes, those are inside a web application where you have credentials and you're working on a very specific form. It has you enter maybe customer data. You're filling in customer data because you're a data entry person. Well, what if that form has some issues in it where you could send malicious data and you could see things you're not supposed to see, or you could change things on the website or in the database? In that case, you wouldn't want a person in that role to be able to do that. So we want to search and look for things like that, and find those all over the web application. We also look for things like file uploads where we could upload a malicious file, and even configuration issues, just things that maybe you want to be doing to make your site more secure. Often customers even come to us and say, hey, can we show you the database that goes with the website, and you check the configuration for that. And we're always happy to do that as part of a web app test.
Yeah, yeah, I know a lot of our customers really appreciate that, because just because we can't get in today doesn't mean somebody might later on, and at least that database was built properly.
Exactly.
We've
Things are always changing. You don't know what tomorrow will be like.
right, and we've had a few cases where people have come to us that have been hacked before a Raxis
Hmm.
pen test, and that was when they found out that they weren't managing their database correctly. Those were painful experiences for them and bad learning
Yes.
curves.
We like to help them through that, and hopefully it won't happen again if they keep up with all of the right things.
Right, right. Our goal is to make it harder and harder each year.
Yes.
So okay, so and I think a lot about anywhere where an application may be on like a
Hmm.
public terminal, right? Like maybe a hospital or a clinic or something, and that
Yeah.
workstation didn't get properly locked down,
Hmm.
and somebody could come and have access to it. So there's a lot of ways that a user could get inside that web app, and so
Absolutely.
so the way I described to our customers, and tell me if you agree with this, is the developer looks at like a name field and they're expecting a name to go there, but
Hmm.
we see that field and we're like, what can we do other than a name? Really
Exactly.
trying to exploit it in ways that was never thought of in the original development stages. Would you say that's correct?
That is absolutely correct. And we often have customers say, I want to walk you through the web app and show you everything it's supposed to do. When I was a pen tester, I often would say, no, let's not do that. Because, like you said, you want to be looking at it from that point of view of, I happen to get into this. I happen to be this far, whether I'm an employee who wants to cause harm or I'm a person who hacked into your external network and got this far. However, I did it. I don't care what you're meaning to do. I care what I can do.
Right. And that's really I think the value of third party pen testing overall, right? It's
Hmm.
just fresh set of eyes, and we don't
Yes.
know what the expectations are.
Hmm.
We just know what we want to get to.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. Now, when we focus on the web application test, are we not focusing on the server and so forth that it's sitting on? How does that work within the scope?
That's a really good point, and that's something that I think confuses a lot of people, so I'm glad you brought it up. In that case, we're not specifically looking at that. So the web application is sitting on the server. There's a little bit of overlap of configuration because often to configure the web app, you have to have it on a web server. You have to be looking at those pieces. So there's an overlap where we're telling you, hey, this looks like it was configured incorrectly. You would want to always do it this way. At the same time, if we found something that had nothing to do with the web application, we found unencrypted telnet or something like that, that has nothing to do with the web application. It's just sitting on that server. We're going to let the customer know because it's an issue they'll want to look at, but it's not a part of the report. It's not a part of this testing.
That makes sense. And so if the customer has the application and they want to totally vet that application
Hmm.
from start to finish, that's a web application test. But
Yes,
if they're really looking at what's my exposure from the outside, can somebody do me harm, that's really a network test. And odds
exactly.
are, if the customer's never done either one, it would be wise to them to marry those and do them both together. Did I understand you correctly?
Often. For companies that don't do their own web applications or don't use a customized web application, they're going to be focusing on the external network. But for
Mhm.
companies that do have both, they'd likely want to do both of them because they're very separate tests and they're going to give them a lot of different pictures of the whole situation.
I think that makes perfect sense. And hopefully that's really clarified for our customers and the viewers of this video as well. Bonnie, I know you're extremely busy. I really appreciate you taking the time to jump on the video with me.
Happy to do it.
Guys, hopefully find this useful. Leave us some comments below, and we always appreciate it when you share our videos. Our goal is to help everyone be more secure, right? We obviously hope everybody's a Raxis customer, but even if you're not, we want you to be better secure. And we hope that our videos and our blog posts and all the resources we put out help you do that. Obviously, if there's a way we can be of help and you'd like to have a conversation about it, visit our website at raxis.com. You can hit any of the buttons that say contact us, and we'll reach out with you very shortly and schedule a time where we can talk and see how we can help. You guys have a great day.